What's up? It's your boy Kazi. Welcome to Kazi Plays, and I'm going to be showing you guys how to play Jubilee in today's guide. So without further ado, let's get into it. To start things off, let's first talk about her role. Jubilee is a support, aka a strategist that excels both in the damage and healing department. She also brings along to the table some utilities with her, and she does have some decent movement capabilities. So with that being said, the 4-star difficulty that Rivals has given Jubilee is well deserved because of the hurdle that you have to overcome to learn to be able to maximize her utilities and also to be able to maximize her movement abilities. Up next, let's go over her abilities. Her primary, she shoots out fireworks that heals allies and deals damage to enemies. And keep in mind that right now, the primary is not hit scan and has some travel time on it. Her next ability, she can throw out up to 2 orbs that stay out on the field that heals allies or does damage to enemies, and you can recall them back. But also you can shoot these orbs, and when you do, it increases the radius of the orb to increase the damage or the healing output of the orb. And as you can see with the little HUD under the crosshair, you can see how much charge that the orb has, or you can also see how long until the orb will disappear, which follows into her next ability, where at any point in time she can detonate an orb which will do a burst of damage to enemies and a burst of healing to allies. And on top of that, it will give a buff or a debuff depending on ally or enemy. With enemies, it will blind them and make it so that they'll take more damage. With allies, they'll get a speed buff. Also, when you do explode an orb on an ally or enemy, a mark pops up on them, and when you do hit an ally or enemy with that mark, your attack speed is increased and you have infinite ammo. She also has a movement ability that makes her jump higher and move around faster, and on top of that, while you're in this movement state, your primary's attack speed is increased as well. Also, you may or may not have noticed that with Jubilee's movement ability, it does take meter with it. So I would recommend to head over to settings and go down to Jubilee's character specific settings and find the hold to activate sparking sprint, because what that does is that only as long as you're holding the button you use the ability, to make it so that you can better manage that meter and only use what you need. And finally, her ultimate is a giant circle that heals or does damage to enemies or allies and places marks on all of them, and you're able to push or pull the enemy over and over again. She also has a team up with Blade where it puts out a field, and the base effect gives everybody lifesteal, which means every time they do damage, it does heal them back. But with Blade out on the field, it also just gives continuous healing over time. She also has another team up, this time with the Hood, where every time her attack speed is increased, it allows her to do headshot damage, and she also turns her primary from having travel time into hit scan, where the shots are instant. Now when the Hood is actually out on the field, it will make it so that she has that buffed effect all the time, where she is able to headshot and her primary is hit scan. Before we continue, if you have made it this far into the video and want to dive further into the community, I do got a Discord, link will be in the description below. There we talk about Marvel Rivals, anime, manga, and whatnot, so if you're interested, feel free to stop by, we'd love to have you. Moving on, let's go over her Crosshair. Now with this Crosshair, there are 2 parts to it, and here's how it works. With the outer white circle, essentially that's for when Jubilee doesn't have that hit scan buff from the Hood, and how it works is that as long as the enemy is inside of this circle, the projectiles will hit. Now when we go back to the Crosshair and look at the second part of it, which is the little cross in the middle that's blue and yellow, that is for you to use whenever you have the Hood ability and your primary turns into hit scan, because of the fact of how thin the bullets are, and that instead of it having travel time, it is instant. Here are all the settings to make the Crosshair, and go ahead and pause the video at any time so you can go ahead and copy all of these settings down. And finally, let's go over her playstyle. Now when it comes to Jubilee, depending on which of the 2 team ups you're using, you kind of have a different playstyle, and in my opinion, you use them for different situations. First, with the Blade team up, that's something I would use on convoy / payload on the defensive side, because of 2 reasons. One, with the base ability, it gives everybody in the area lifesteal. So all of those tanks and DPSs that are taking picks and whatnot, you're going to be able to give them a little bit more HP to work with. And on top of that, if you do have a blade on your team, that is going to be way more healing for your team, which would give them a lot more survivability. Additionally, you want to use your orbs and focus those more so on your tanks, because 9 times out of 10 they're going to be on an enemy close to them, and you can also ignite the orb to deal some extra damage to the enemy and heal your allies too and give them a movement boost. Because you already know, as much as I do, tanks, there are times where they get shredded very quickly, and that speed boost might be the extra push they need to get out of the fight and for you to save them. With the movement ability, you would want to be using that more so as a tool to either A, avoid getting hit by the dive characters that are trying to attack you, or B, to be able to quickly shift from moving from the middle of the team to the back of the team at any point that you need. Now, on the other hand, with the hood team up, I see that as more so of a more aggressive playstyle that you would be using around with it. Now, yes, with the hood team up, it doesn't heal the rest of your team and it only self heals you, but usually a lot of times on attack, the tank or DPS can't always get to you in time, so being a little greedy and being able to keep yourself up is also important too. So I would try to use one of the orbs on, yeah, obviously your team to keep them up, but use the second orb if you can and try to throw it into the enemy's team so you are able to take some health off of them and potentially either debuff the enemy team or get a pick off with your primary to make it easier for the rest of your team to push up. Because believe me, this team up, when you have that primary with that attack speed and that hit scan buff, it shreds through people, especially tanks. Yes, you can also use your movement ability to like avoid getting caught by dive characters, but I would also use it as a way to like help your team push up. So if your team gets a pick and is pushing up, it will help you be able to stay with the team or get at better angles to see if you can pick off a straggler that's trying to run away because they're low. When deciding on the best time to use Jubilee's ultimate, I would say it's more of an offensive ult than a defensive ult like Invisible Woman. You can kind of think of it similarly to White Fox, where you get a lot of value out of it when you use it to put more pressure on the team than using it defensively to survive another ultimate, like for example if they pop Cloak and Dagger ultimate. Now yes, sometimes it may work, but more often than not it doesn't go out too well as a defensive ultimate. On top of that, having the ability to push or pull your enemies in with your ultimate allows the rest of your team to make sure that not a single enemy gets away, or at least increase the chances of that. One important thing to keep in mind when using this ultimate is that yes, it has some healing, but it doesn't have as much of a healing output as an ultimate like Cloak and Dagger. So characters that do a lot of damage in a short burst of time, like for example a character like Punisher, you will get deleted. And that's everything on how to play Jubilee. If I did leave something out or you did discover something new, feel free to put it in the comments below to share with everyone else to help each other out. And yeah, if you do want more Marvel Rivals on the channel, why don't you go ahead and support your boy. I'll go ahead and catch y'all in the next one. Y'all take it easy.